possible. Hope everyone's doing well.
What's up, Abe?
What's up,
Tony?
Coach?
How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
Nice to see you. We got Freddie Rodriguez showing some pipes. Simmer down there, Freddie. Keep your shirt on, buddy. Oh, the guy in the back too. We got two tank tops. You guys wrestling? Let's go. Wrestle off, baby. So Tony, you're just gonna let guys roll in?
Yeah, I'm just actually, most people are kind of trickling in. If anyone, I guess we can get started here. If anyone else trickles in, I'll be able to add them as we go. As always, guys, if you can turn on your video, that'd be great. Same thing. I know you guys that are all here just want to express it's great. We want to continue to get the attendance up higher and higher. We will, as always, we will record this and post it, and you guys can rewatch it. But especially with these things going monthly, I mean, yeah, you guys should be joining live at all costs, and then probably rewatching some things and making sure you go over your notes. I know Nate's got a lot of good info for you today, and as in the past, if you have missed some in the past, those links are available. We'll get some stuff put. I mean, I'm sure they're already available to you, but I'll make sure that we get them even more accessible so you guys can catch up if you've missed any of the previous Zooms. Actually, I think I even saw some names, and I know some guys are adding to the teams or over the last couple months too. So they might not have been there for the first couple. So with that said, I don't know, Abe, did you want to talk about anything specific, or you had a couple things,
just real quick, just kind of one thing for me, always this time of year, I know talking with Coach Nate about as you transition back into school, this year is even a little bit different compared to last year with, now everybody's back in person, kind of going through that. So for me, the biggest thing is time management. How you spend that time, right? You're going to have that 8-hour window you're in classes or whatever it is. We still have to find time to, 1, get on a baseball field, 2, get in the gym, 3, get your homework done, right? There's a lot of things that come with these responsibilities. And, in our program, we talk about, guys that you want to play at the next level. You want to be a part of a college program. You want to take that step in your baseball career. These are the things that you need to be doing to set yourself up, to put yourself in position to be successful when it comes to a lot of that. So to me, that was just the only thing I really wanted to touch on. Obviously going into September, I think in the next week or so, everybody will have started their fall semester. So I just think it's really important. Again, if you have any questions in terms of, things you can do in times management, how to be better with your time, please feel free to reach out, ask Coach Nate questions, anything like that, kind of going forward, reach out through email, anything, just, if you're struggling with some of that stuff, getting back in the classroom.
Abe, can I ask you a couple of recruiting questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Super. So Abe is in it. I mean, he's on the field. He's talking to coaches all the time. My role has changed. I mean, I'm still talking to guys. So when we kind of can come to you guys from a full circle approach, Abe's on the field. He's making rosters. He's talking to guys regularly. I'm talking to scouts. I've been scouting for 16 years. I'm right now I'm in the big league office right now in Kansas City, here in the general manager's office doing the Zoom because of our relationship. So that just builds the whole circle. I talked to multiple college guys today about, some specific players and how the recruiting period is changing, and it has changed over the years. So Abe, I want to go through just the quiet periods and the contact period real quick with the guys. And one, so you guys know that you guys can, and some of you guys might already know this, or Abe might be getting this out. And if he has, that's great. But if not, just go right to the NCAA baseball recruiting period, and you can go and it'll just list all the different sports. And what it does is it gives you an idea of what these guys are doing. Are they busy at the time? Can they go out and recruit? Are they focusing on camp? So if you could tell us a little bit, Abe, on your experience. I'm going to share a little bit after you share, but like right now, we're in a quiet period, and players understand that the quiet period means the college coaches are not out recruiting. They can bring you to campus. They can hold a camp. So you can come to a camp. So basically the window for recruiting right now is through relationships, through your coaches, high school coach, through Trosky baseball, through Abe and the other coaches, right? So relationships, you might have a hitting coach or someone you work with, an infield coach, catching coach that has some relationships as well. But the relationship building is very important as you guys, build your process and build this recruiting process for you. Understand that relationships are gold, especially as the recruiting period has come to it's smaller. So before we continue, I want to make sure you guys have a notebook, because what we're talking about will be forgotten. We talk about being elite learners. We talk about the 20-80, the 20-80, 80 is the best of all time. 20 is the worst, 50 is an average. Let's shoot for 70s and 80s today. Let's be great. Let's be great learners. So we're in the quiet period right now, August 16th to September 9th. And then the contact period opens up from September 10th to October 10th, guys. And that's when the colleges are going to be back out. I mean, the scouts are free to roam at any time. And then we go back to this quiet period that is significant. It's October 11th through February 28th. So that means, going to tournaments, you're not really going to be seen by colleges necessarily with their eyes. So, Abe, if you can talk a little bit about maybe how guys are seen if we're still playing at those times. Is it through videos? Is it through them reaching out? Is it through live streaming events? Is it what these with Perfect Game, these other events are they doing a good job? What is their responsibility, would you say, as we come into these periods?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is right, kind of understanding those windows, like Coach just explained. Obviously we target the contact period events because we do want coaches out there in person, but as Coach Nate alluded to, there are a lot of things that we can do, you can do during some of those quiet period events, or even dead period, which was very rare for us to play, but quiet period events for us. You guys all know we take video, we reach out, we kind of handle through social media, stuff like that. And I know we've all talked to you guys individually about some of that stuff too, of your own video, and whether it's mom or dad or anybody like that, any video you get in game, all that stuff comes into play when talking about the recruiting process, and all of it's valuable. We talk about putting together, quality highlight tapes, and stuff like that. So again, I think that's the way that during those quiet period events, that's going to be the most valuable, kind of asset you have. And along with, again, coaching staff and having good relationships with those schools, all those things go a long way in terms of building that profile for you guys when it comes to the colleges.
Would you say that the events that we're in, and it seems like Perfect Game and these PBR events and a lot of these events are doing a great job of, getting the information out during some of the quiet periods? Would you say that's something they're doing a good job of?
Absolutely. Again, most of these organizations understand, the value of, again, marketing players, help highlighting players as well. They know how important it is for, them to be able to put together some of that information, whether it's, pitching velocities, highlights for in games, or stats, anything like that they can help to, kind of push that thing forward. The recruiting stuff for guys, they obviously are seeing the value in that as well. And there's a reason we go to the tournaments and the events we do. Again, we've talked about it, kind of up and down in our program. We want to target those events that are going to be the most competitive, the most recruited, the most covered, even by those organizations. And, as Coach Nate kind of hinted on as well there too, the pro guys don't necessarily have that calendar. They can always be out there. They're always watching guys. They're always taking looks at guys. So, understanding the value of those relationships too, whether you think you're a pro guy right now or not, if they're at your game and they see something they like, they have relationships with colleges as well. So as many people as we can get in your corner, in our corner, when it does come to some of the recruiting stuff, that's again where I think it goes a long way for guys. So again, in Division I, Division II, they all have different calendars, and just understanding the value and, how many schools, there are at each level, right? There's always opportunities to play at the next level. And I think that's important to understand as well, that, whether it's, again, Division I, II, III, junior college, there are different avenues and again, different levels of baseball that have different recruiting calendars. And restrictions and scholarships and all that type of thing.
One of the key points that Abe brought up, and I want you guys to make sure you write this down, is that the pro scouts have contacts, and understand that if a college coach has been in this game for a while, which most head coaches have, they go to the scouts to help them find players, because the scouts are out there, right? We only have two sets of, we got one set of eyes, two eyes, right? So when you think of recruiting, the best college coaches are calling the area guys, right? And they have friends with the supervisors and the West Coast guys that are covering the whole Western United States. So they go to those guys because they want the best players, and they know that the scouts are out there, covering games that they can't get to. And also, they have that year-round calendar. So, you're in an event, and I heard, one of our recruiting coordinators that's been almost to every one of our camps, he's one of our main coaches that comes. He always says that when one college coach sees you, that means about 100 are seeing you, because they all have relationships. And if I call up this coach, I say, Abe's at ASU. I say, Abe, I know you're over at the, the Perfect Game National, and I wasn't able to make it. Which shortstops did you like, right? And Abe thumbs through his notes, right? And he goes, oh, I like that one kid from Minnesota, that one kid from San Diego, right? So then then he might call up 3-4 other guys. So it's like we work together. And so it's not necessarily, is it, 20 colleges at the park watching the game? It could be 2, right? But that means there could be a couple hundred guys really through their relationships. And if you have the scouts there, those guys are really working for those college guys, and they work for each other too. The college guys are helping the pro guys. So keep that in mind. I want to tell a story about one of our guys who went in the 5th round in the COVID draft, which was the 5 rounds. And I was talking to John Levitz. John Levitz is the Minnesota Twin scout from Southern California, and he selected Kalai Rosario, one of our players from Hawaii Hilo. And it's important information because this is what's happening more and more. And he said, Nate, Kalai lives in Hawaii, and we weren't able to fly a lot. And so what I had to do, really, I only saw him like one time, and they took him in the 5th round. And they're like, John, his name's John Levitz. I said, John, the supervisors, the cross-checkers are like, John, do we take this guy? And he said, you know what? I like him, but I've only seen him once. Let me call someone that knows him well. So he reached out to his reference. His reference was his hitting coach, Kaha Wong, the father of Colton Wong, the major leaguer with the Milwaukee Brewers, former St. Louis Cardinals, and also father of major leaguer Kian Wong, both from Hawaii Hilo. And he said, I'm going solely on Kaha's word. And Kaha told me, he said, does Kalai Rosario have the makeup of, now Colton Wong, you guys watch him play the game. He plays aggressive, confident. He's small, he's strong, he's athletic, but he plays the game right. And he says, hey, does Rosario have the makeup of Colton Wong? And his dad, Kaha, said, no, nobody does. He said, nobody has the makeup of Colton Wong. But he said, let me tell you something. He's got the makeup of my other son, who's also a major leaguer. And let me tell you something, he's got great makeup too. And that conversation alone was the deciding factor. Do they take him? And they took him in the 5th round. And your relationships that you build along this journey, guys, relationships, write it down, relationships. That's everybody you come in contact with. Everybody, from Coach Abe to even the assistant coach. And you might say, hey, we got a fill-in coach for this game. That's just so-and-so. That's not Abe, or that's not Adam. That's not our big guy, right? It doesn't make any difference. Everybody has contacts, and everybody at some point is going to be asked, right? So understand you're leaving a trail everywhere you go. And the decision with Rosario was based on one phone call only. It was about a 20-minute call. And the question was, we know he's a good player. The question came down to the 6 tool, what is his mental makeup? And we'll define that. We'll define it right now. If you guys, I'm going to give you just a quick pause so you can finish your notes right there. And I'm going to give you 6 areas to write down, because these are the areas basically that scouts are looking at. And I put it in I categorized it, but basically indirectly ASU is looking for the same stuff as Stanford, and Stanford's looking for the same stuff as the Brewers, and the Brewers looking for the same stuff as the Giants. It's all makeup and character. So it begins with self-motivation. We'll go self-motivation. Self-motivation is defined by what do I do when I don't feel like doing it? Then we'll go to self-discipline. Self-motivation is what do I do when I don't feel like doing something? Self-discipline is what do I do when no one's looking? Self-discipline. Self-discipline, what do I do when no one's looking? Then we'll go to self-confidence. How do I compete regardless of the opponent? Self-confidence, how do I compete regardless of the opponent? The fourth one is self-control. How do I respond when things go wrong? How do I respond when things go wrong? Number 5 is self-awareness. How well do I know myself? And how often do I work on my weaknesses? So that's self-awareness. How well do I know myself? And how often do I work on my weaknesses? And the last one is self-sacrifice. How much am I willing to give and give up daily? Give and give up daily to achieve what's important to me. And so when John Levitz from the Minnesota Twins asked Kaha Wong, he's basically indirectly asking him those questions. He didn't say self-motivation, self-discipline, self-control, self-confidence, self-awareness, self-sacrifice. He didn't break it down, but that's what he's saying. And Kaha goes, yes, he checks all the boxes and he makes a decision on him. Now, I'm going to take it to kind of a darker side of the story because we're at the area codes this year and this is the upper class team. And, you know, we meet, let's say 7:45 one morning and one of our pitchers is really talented. And I was sitting there with the 7 other scouts that coach our team. And this one pitcher was his second day rolling in right on time. Right, we're supposed to be there. We shoes on 7:45, and he shoes on the field, ready to go. Right, he's walking down the walkway at 7:45, and he crosses all the scouts, and all the scouts are saying, "Yeah, really, 2 days in a row." And then one of the scouts goes, "Hey, nice way to be remembered." And he said the kid's last name, and the kid was like, kind of like he didn't think really it even mattered. And the one scout goes, "He's off my list, completely done, off." He says, "Off my list." And the 3 other scouts of the 7 go, "Off my list." He was off the list from being late 2 days in a row. And that's a component of your character, right? Self-discipline, self-motivation, being on time, getting to bed early. And Abe was just talking about that. That's the time management that Abe is talking about. That is one of your most, I mean, I would say it's the greatest challenge. Abe, we were at Stanford one year and we were talking to their team and they were talking to our guys, our Trosky guys, and we asked 2 of their first rounders. AJ Venegas was one of them. I think AJ went, the 3rd round. Did you play against those guys? Was that your era?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they had a good club. You probably smoked some rockets off those guys back then. You were raking. So anyway, so we asked those 2 guys. They're both, one was a first rounder, one was a 3rd or 4th rounder of Venegas. And we asked them, we said, "Hey, what are your greatest challenges?" And they both of them said it's time management, hands down. And so that's what Abe talked about in the beginning. So your ability to plan, guys, you got to plan. You got to slow down. You got to plan your day. You got to plan your week. And if you don't, you know what happens? Everything will speed up and you'll find yourself playing catch up all the time and you'll struggle. So the ability to manage your time, and it's hard for freshmen, okay, because you don't know your process. You're building it. But if you can build your process early in your career, what happens is you're going to be way ahead of the game and you're not going to, play like a freshman because you're going to be more calm. You're going to be more prepared. You're going to be more in control of the situation. Now, the same guy, okay, we're down on the field, okay? Now we're taking BP. There's 500 scouts in the stands, and when you only get 1 day of BP, that's all you get. And it's about a 25 to 35 minute set. It's short. Abe remembers back in Long Beach, okay? It's fat. It's like, boom, it's this little window. Now check this out. The one guy that came late, I asked him to shag on the bucket. Okay, check this out. He goes over the bucket. I could tell he didn't want to do it. Within 3 minutes, I look and he was gone, literally. On the biggest stage of his life, he left that bucket. He said, "I ain't doing the bucket." And he goes right back in the outfield and he starts talking to his buddies. This is during on-field BP. So the point is this: you leave a trail. It's either good makeup or poor makeup. And I'll tell you right now, you can get written off in 1 day. And you might have to earn that respect over a 2, 3, 4 year period. And it might be too late. So understand all the context that you have. Get out of your comfort zone. Be a gentleman, and just don't do things because you're going to receive. Do things because it's the right thing to do, because that's who you are. And I'm telling you, it will pay off. Now, today I was talking to a Division I coach. We're going to talk just a little bit more about recruiting, and we're going to move into some mental game stuff. So let's finish up with this story. The story is about just talking today, about relationships, and this is a very successful Division I program. And we talked about makeup, and he said, Nate, I'm telling you, the reason why we win is because of the 6 tool. We look for guys with makeup. Now, of course, you got to have talent, but the reason why in the last 10 years, this is one of the most winning programs is because the culture that they build with guys that have character and makeup, the self-motivation, the self-discipline, right? The self-confidence, the self-control, the self-sacrifice, the self-awareness. We're talking about self-mastery. And if you don't work on that, those 6 components right there, those components will make you a champion in everything you do. But those are the defining factors once we say this guy has some ability, right? So we say, okay, has some talent, has the grades, okay, checks those boxes. Now we go right to that makeup box. So talking to these coaches, and I've been doing this for over 20 years. And what I've learned over the 20 years is many things, but one of the most important pieces is the players that I've helped the fastest. And Abe, I'd like to hear some feedback from you, but the players I've helped the fastest, and we get, guys, scholarships in a day, like bang, just from the coach respecting the coach they're speaking to. It could be Abe, it could be myself, it could be Adam. But once they believe, because they believe us, because we built the trust over time, we say, this guy's a guy and you need him. You know what happens? It happens fast. And a lot of times they say, just send him up to camp. We need our head guy to see him. And when we want to see him, we trust you, but we want to see if he really fits. And boom, right after that camp, it's like a lot of times game over. You walk him in the room, we're going to offer you 25, 50, 75, whatever it might be. So understand that, 1, your character is important. 2, your references are important. And the fastest way to commit or even make an area code team or make any major team is through quality relationships and people believing in you. And that just doesn't happen because you walk up to Abe and say, Abe, can you be my reference? No, you got to earn that respect, right? Not one player on our Brewers team lost the respect of the scouts and of myself just because of, his lack of concern for, the team, and also just rolling in late. So build, and then on the recruiting piece, I want you guys to do this piece. I want you to have a written testimony, a reference. So you say, I got a PE teacher, or I have my hitting guy, played at Oregon State, or he was a professional. Have a couple small little blurbs of testimonies of guys that believe in you. And there will be a point where you might need to use that. And the 2 guys that I was talking to this coach about today, he said, you know what he said? This is what he said, guys. He said, just send them up to camp, Nate. We know you got guys. We know, we respect your opinion. Send them to camp. If we like them, hey, we'll pull the string. Okay. But what I sent them was one was a football testimony from the guy's football coach, right? So it's not always just baseball. This guy's a 4-year quarterback, starter since a freshman. The coach talks about his competitive spirit, his confidence, his ability to lead, right? So it's not always just, Abe, can you write me something up? It's not just Abe. It's about, it's your circle around you. So guys, high school is, your season's not for a while, okay? And you have this window to reach out to coaches. And I want to go through the fit list very quickly. I'm not going to go in depth. I'm going to go very fast. Guys, it's about your list. You have to have a list to work off of. And your list begins with your academic fit. Second, your financial fit. Third, your athletic fit. And 4th, your social fit. When you find schools that are a good fit, and you might say, gosh, I'm still working my list. That's great. Your list is going to continue to change and build. And after one of the tournament weekends, you can go up to Coach Adam or Coach Abe and say, what do you think, Abe? If you're still uncommitted, Abe, do you think I'm a Pac-12 guy? Do you think I'm a WCC guy? Where do you see me fitting in? These guys know, okay? So they'll tell you, and then you start creating your list off of that, right? Because we're looking for schools that are realistic. We can throw a few reaches in there. We have some reserves in there, reach, realistic, reserve, but it's very important to target schools that are a good fit. Now, Abe might not necessarily know your whole academic profile, but he can tell you, and he doesn't know your financial profile. He doesn't know what your parents make, but they can direct you for the athletic fit So now when you're reaching out and when you're going to camps, you know what happens? You're going to schools that are actually a good fit for you, both ends. It's two-sided. The last thing I want to say is this before you go to a camp. One of the guys I was just talking to paid for a camp, Division I camp this weekend. He's going to Cal Poly camp. And he told me, he said, you know, I don't know if they're still interested in my son. They were talking to him 6 months ago. And I said, it's very simple. Guys, it's very simple. Before you pay for any camp you go to, you need to email that coach and they will email you back because they want you to go to their camp, no matter who you are, because they're interested in bringing in income. So you reach out to that coach and you say, Coach, I'm a 2023 left fielder. I play at this high school. I'm 5'10", 165 pounds. I play on the Trosky national team. You know, I'm interested in playing for you and pursuing academics in your institution. Are you guys still recruiting 2023 outfielders? And they will tell you. And I've been to so many camps, and one in particular, where I remember the Division I coach, when the camp was over, I was helping run the event. When the event was over, there was 50 families in the locker room. And the mother asked, she said, Coach, what positions are you recruiting from the senior class? And he goes, oh, ma'am, we're not recruiting any seniors. We're only recruiting sophomores and juniors right now. And there was like 20 seniors in that room and their stomachs literally just dropped. I mean, it was one of the most embarrassing times in my life around parents and coaches. I mean, literally they go, we just paid $600. We've been here for 2 days. Some people flew from out of state and they were not even being considered because the coach was not looking for seniors. So those seniors were wasting their time and money. So you need to be proactive. And typically college coaches aren't going to just mail you back. And if I'm, if I'm an underclassman, they're not going to email me back. But my mom can, or my dad can say, hey, we're looking for signing up my son for this camp. Are you guys still recruiting outfielders from the 23 class? If it's a yes, and you think it's a good academic, financial, and social fit, then you say, man, that is a good investment. I'm going to go to this camp. And you're always going to get better no matter what camp you go to. But you got to understand, you only have so many camps you could go to because there's only so many days and there's only so much money, right? So, and you have these tiny windows, right? This fall and winter will be over so fast. And if you don't strategize, like Dave was talking about, time management, you have to manage your time each month. You look at your calendar team, you say, hey, what's our Trosky schedule? And then how tired am I going to be? I mean, some guys they do not pay attention. They say, okay, Abe, I'm going to leave a day early from this tournament and I'm going to run over to the Stanford camp and then I'm going to go to the ASU camp. And I'm telling you, your 88 goes down to 83, right? You got to strategize where your body will be physically, mentally, right? You got to really think it through because you get these little windows. So sit back and my suggestion, Abe, if there's anything you want to say after me, please. My suggestion would be is get your month, September, October, November, December, January, and put your calendars up on the wall and put all the Trosky events in there, right? Put your little window where you might want to take some time off, right? And you see, you put that and you say, hey, maybe Christmas is this time, right? You just put you got your little holidays in there, you got Thanksgiving, and you say, okay, now which weekends and days am I available to do camps? Because this is your camp time because the colleges aren't going out again. So it was talking about, having some video. That's great. But the camp, there's nothing better than going to a camp that's a good fit for you, that's recruiting your position. I mean, it's an absolute no-brainer. So plan your next 5 months before February, before you start your high school season. And really strategically plug in, okay, I can go to the Cal Poly camp this weekend. Oh, but Cal Poly's not a good academic fit because I'm only a 2.7. Well, then, okay, then don't go to that camp, right? Be smart, be wise, pay attention to the fits, and then reach out and do not pay because camps are expensive. And like Gonzaga's camp, it's only $150. So there's a lot of camps that are very reasonable. You get a round trip up there for like maybe $200. I mean, so there's some really, if you strategically think this through, you and your parents can come up with a pretty good plan. And then, and you spend some time with Abe, make sure that these guys, you ask them, hey, what is a good baseball fit? And some of you guys might already know, so that's great. And some of you guys have been working off your list, that's great. But if you have no list, you have nothing. Because if you aim at nothing, you're going to hit nothing. You have to be specific, aim small in the 4 categories. Anything, Abe, you want to add to that?
No, just real quick. I mean, guys, understand, right? We talk about it all the time. The events we go to, why we build the schedule the way we do. You know, Coach talked about it. If you're doing thing after thing after thing throughout a summer, typically you're neglecting the weight room, right? You know, we talk about it in our groups. I think most of you guys have met DJ and our guys at Push or Rossi. There's a reason we have those people around you guys during our events, because it's really important for you guys to maintain your strength as much as possible, because just naturally, if you look at a pro season, a college season, whatever it is, those guys always end the year lighter and weaker than they did when they left spring training or they entered the season. So and that's with lifting 3-4 days a week still. So guys, understand, if you neglect the gym during these events, the more you play, the more you do, the weaker, the slower, the worse throwing velocity, all those things, the exit velocity. Maybe that fly ball you got all of at the end of summer would have been a home run a month before. So just calculating how to attack these events. And there's a reason we do build the schedule the way we do. And we don't play back to back to back, have you guys on the road in hotels, because we understand that's not the ideal situation for you guys to thrive and put your best foot forward in front of the coaches. So just understanding that. So when Coach talks about these camps and everything that's coming up, a lot of those schools will target them. They're not going to typically run camps during the contact periods, during the recruiting periods. They're going to do a lot of their camps during the quiet period, because that is the only way for them to see you. And what you'll see is there's a lot of stuff around the holiday season, before or after Christmas. Those are going to be some premium camp date windows this winter that you guys can target a couple here or there. A lot of them are 1-day camps. Some of them are 2-day camps. And so again, just be mindful of that. Again, especially for you pitchers, there's no value in you going to a camp and throwing on Saturday. However much you do, obviously we know you're maxing out trying to put your best foot forward and then try to bounce back and throw to camp the next day, or go from, somewhere in Southern California to Southern California. That's not the ideal. So again, like Coach Nate said, be smart about how you plan out the camps and thing you're going to target going forward.
We had a guy, I mean, I could give you story after story, but we had one guy, he was an area code guy, Pac-12 commit. He would go from our showcase. This is even in 8th grade, because he was coming to an 8th grade. He'd go to our showcase. He said, Coach, and I remember he left at like 4 p.m. one time. We were at USF. He's like, Coach, I got to get going. I got to get home. I got a family dinner. Well, we found out. I think Tony might have saw like on Instagram or something. He threw a complete game. So he threw in our showcase like to 8 batters, and then he goes that night, like 2 hours later, and he throws a complete game. And then he pitched like 2 days later to win the tournament. So I mean, you guys got to be smart. So manage your time, like Abe's saying, and that window is the holiday season, guys. This quiet time coming up. Super. We're going to turn the page. I want to talk a little bit about process, and we're talking about building a process. So I want you to write down the acronym POR. POR is process over result. POR is process over result. And the goal is to keep the process greater than the result. And I want to give you 2 examples from guys that have played with us over the years. There was one player, his name was Robbie Ireland, and Robbie was from the Santa Cruz area. And this was in the beginning of my coaching time. This was quite a few years ago doing the travel ball. So we've only been doing teams, I think, maybe 13 years, 12 to 13. So it hasn't been a long time. We've actually done teams. I was a head college coach and I worked in minor league baseball before that. But as a team guy, as a Trosky team guy, in the beginning, there was this pitcher and he pitched with us. This was when your dad was doing the blast. So Abe's dad was running really, the team that Abe played on when he was a kid ended up becoming a Trosky team, because the Aldretti guys and Abe's dad started the team was called the Blast. It was pretty cool and they were outstanding. So Erlen was actually on your team, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a Scotts Valley kid.
Yeah, so he was a teammate of Abe. So it's a great story because there's tremendous truth behind it. So when I met him at 16, I met him in Scotts Valley with his dad. He was doing a pitching lesson, and I watched him and I observed him for about a month. And then I saw him pitching a game and I saw his makeup. We'll go GDBRR, which is the grinder, focus, dirtbag, energy, bulldog, confidence, the rock, his bounce back. And the rat is preparation. I watched, and in all 5 of those mental makeup components between the lines, he graded an 80. And we talked in the beginning, 20-80. 80 is the best of the best. So I saw his makeup between the lines. I saw his talent. He's a 5'10 lefty, throwing about 86 to 89. I saw the way he lived his life, and I watched him day to day. When he was 16, this is the first prediction I've ever made. I said, for baseball, predicting a player, he was 16. And I made this prediction. I said, this player will be in the major leagues at the age of 22. And I had no idea. I knew him for now about 6 months. But watching the way he lived his life, he was different, completely different. How can I predict a player to be in the big leagues at 22 when you know how hard that is to be a big leaguer at 22? He's a 5'10. Now 5'10 lefty, yeah, that's okay, but 5'10, so that's even steeper, right? Prediction. Well, you know what happened? 22nd birthday, he made the major leagues. And he's been in the major leagues for it's been nearly 8 years. I don't know if he still is, but he was, I think last year, recently, he still might be. He's a left-handed pitcher. He's been with several major league teams. But the point is this, his process is second to none. Great players have a great process. So if you want to predict your future, and that's the key, predict your future by creating your future. And you create your future with your process. You need to write this stuff down. None of you guys are writing. I'm just looking at your faces. You guys will not remember this information. We're giving you keys to the kingdom, okay? The kingdom that you want to go to. Great players have a great process, and you cannot outperform your process. And your process will determine, along with your genetics, because your genetics do play a role, but Robbie Ireland is not throwing 95 miles an hour. He's an 88 to 91 mile an hour lefty who's 5'10 that has plus pitchability. And he built and developed that pitchability through his process of his daily dedication. 22 years old, major leaguer, signed as a 3rd rounder out of high school. And I made that prediction due to his ability, but his process and his makeup. So that's day-to-day process. That's the day-to-day process. Now I'm going to talk game day process. So Robbie Ireland story, remember that story. Day-to-day process, how he lives his life both inside and outside the lines. Write it down. Inside and outside the lines, day to day, with consistency and repeatability. I see him 6 months down the road, a year down the road, 2 years down the road. It doesn't change. He doesn't have a new group of friends, and he's going, now he's partying this time, and then he becomes the straight guy, and then he's working out for a week. No, he is consistent. He knows his process, and he is committed to it day to day. Now we're going to talk game day process. I could give you probably 50 stories. I'm going to give you one. And the greatest game day story I have is Royce Lewis. Royce Lewis, his first round, first pick, 2017 draft, signed for $7.1 million. It was the highest paid high school draftee in the history of the draft until the second pick, who was also his teammate on our team, Hunter Green. Hunter Green signed for 7.3. They both were teammates on our Brewers team for multiple years. And I got to watch these guys day in and day out. Now, Royce Lewis, follow me here. Royce Lewis was not who Royce Lewis was as a senior. Royce Lewis built himself. He built his tools. Now he's genetically gifted, no doubt. But what he did was he took his tools, every one of them, and he multiplied them every single year. Now, his junior year going into his senior year, that's his draft year. We're at the area codes. He was already on our team the year before. I've been with the area codes for over 16 years. Coached guys like Freddie Freeman, Nolan Arenado, Lucas Giolito, Giancarlo Stanton, Jock Peterson, the list, Abe Ruiz, by the way. Abe was on that team, okay? The best players in the world. I've never seen a player prepare like Royce Lewis. Game day. We're talking game day process. Now follow me here. He's no more talented than the other guys. Every guy on that field and the other teams, from the Rangers to the Nationals to all the other area code teams, they're all talent. They're all talent. So you go, oh, well, how do you separate yourself amongst the elite? Because the goal is to become an elite player. But now once you become one and you're on the elite stage, everybody else is elite. So you go, how do I separate myself amongst the elite? And that's the great challenge. Well, Ireland did it day to day to day to day over time from the age of about 14 till he was 18, signs in the third round. He's in the big leagues at 22. Royce Lewis built that process. And one of his tools that he transformed was his arm, his throw tool. He had a 50 arm. And by the time he was a senior, 1 year later, he had a 70, 65, 70 arm, which is an above average to plus major league arm. And he did it with his day-to-day process, going back to the concept of Robbie Ireland. But let's go back to the game day process. When you watched Royce Lewis play catch and stretch, his intent was different. His intent means is his passion, his purpose, and what he wants to accomplish. He knows he wants to be first round, first pick. He knows he wants to be in the big leagues by the age of 23. See, he's just not out there hoping he's doing well. You have to have specific, distinct goals because that will change your focus. And when you're focused on great goals, destination greatness, we're talking about greatness. We're not talking about just a goal. I want to play in college. I want to make a college team. I want to get a scholarship. Those are vague. Those are not great goals. Those are vague goals. And your body will seek to accomplish what you're thinking. Royce Lewis is out there saying, I want to be first round, first pick. So my process must be better because I want to separate myself. I'm not saying you have to say first round, first pick. My point is though, just don't say I want to go to college. You need to be specific. What kind of college? What level? What level am I? And what am I going to do with my tools? I have 5 tools. What am I going to do with them? What am I going to do with my body? I'm going to gain weight. No, way too vague. I'm going to gain weight. What kind of weight? How much weight? Where are you going to gain the weight? And by when? And how are you going to do it? It's being specific. Going back to what Abe's talking about, time management. Manage your time. And this is what successful people do. The best basketball players, the best soccer players, the best baseball players. And Ireland had this process early. And when I saw it, I said, this guy is different. His future will be different because of how he lives his life today due to his day-to-day process. Now, going back to Lewis. Lewis was game day process I was focusing on. And I watched him. And I've never seen a player play catch for 6 straight days with the same exact throwing routine. And his routine was excellence. It wasn't just step and throw, get loose, stretch it out a little bit like everybody else. That's 90, probably 8% of all the other position players. They have a vague plan, loosen it up. And Lewis had footwork drills, glove work drills, movement drills, posture drills, direction drills. And by the way, we have that in my infield membership that we have, the Trosky Ranch, if you're interested in an elite throwing program. And by the way, pitchers, this isn't just for position players. If you can move like a shortstop and move your feet and make plays by moving, double plays, all kinds of stuff. You know what happens? Your repeatability on the mound, dude, through the roof. Go out and turn some double plays, okay? Go out and work some relays and see how accurate you are while you're moving, receiving throws that are offline and redirecting those throws. So understand that being creative, guys, in your throwing routine is tremendous. It creates athleticism and balance and posture and feel, right? So being creative, pitchers, is one of the, and I learned this concept from Andrew Checketts, who at the time when he came to UC Santa Barbara, he's the head coach there. He came from Oregon and he was one of the top pitching coaches in the country. He transitions into UC Santa Barbara. Freddie, where are you committed to? Santa Barbara?
Cal Poly.
Okay, Cal Poly. Okay, it's right down the street. Okay, now, this is what Andrew taught me probably 17 years ago. He said, the reason I said, what separates you, Andrew? Why are you so good? He's this nice, humble, nice guy, real gentle. He said, what separates me is our pitchers train like shortstops. They do ladder work, agility work, movement work. They're always moving. They don't just like run sprints. There's no like agility and balance required, right? You're one-dimensional. So he goes, I treat them like shortstops. They train like shortstops. They don't necessarily take ground balls all day, but they work on movements and posture and flexibility and being explosive and agile. You know what happens when you get on the mound? Game over, because you're different. That's why typically the best pitchers in the game are former shortstops, often. So that's our process stories. And when you watch Lewis, he repeated every single day. And to conclude, the Lewis story is this. When the Minnesota Twins had the first pick. Royce Lewis was 6th on the depth chart. 6th. They had 10 guys that were considering for the first round first pick because they had the first pick. And Lewis was like 6th. After they watched him prepare, you know where he went? 6th to 1st. 1-1, $7.1 million. And it was based on his what? Process. Because all 10 of those guys, were all talented, every single one of them. But a piece of his process was he smiled. What did he do? He smiled. He enjoyed being on the field. And we get so consumed with trying to get a scholarship and making Coach Abe happy. And, I want Perfect Game to like me. We get consumed with all these concerns. I'm telling you guys, you're tight. That's tension. And you have no athleticism. Athleticism and tension, they're enemies, guys. They're enemies. You lose all repeatability and athleticism when tension enters your body. And that's when you're trying too hard, when you're concerned about things. And when you watch Lewis, when you watch him, he has this peace about him because he's not worried. You can be that guy too. Because all you got to do is put your worries in the shelf. Just shelf it. Lock the shelf and say, you can stay there. I'm going to go out and enjoy the game. And I'm going to prepare with a great process and commit to my process. About a week ago, I was at Alan Jager's house and he was having you guys know the Jager guy, the Jager band guy. So he had a housewarming party. He just had like some baseball guys over during the area codes. It wasn't like a party, but it was, he had some pizza and some Chinese food and we had some, I just drank some seltzer water. We were just hanging out. And Sean Cole, I know Abe knows Sean. Sean Cole, former pitching coach at Arizona, University of Arizona. He was pitching coach of the year. They won the College World Series. And he went to Team USA. And he's been a friend for years. And he actually used to work our camps at Valley Christian when he was a volunteer. He was a volunteer, guys. And you know what that means? Sometimes you got to play for free. And sometimes you got to work for free. I'd say 50% of my jobs, my whole life, I worked for nothing just to get an opportunity to build relationships and to learn. Understand that it's not always about getting something with monetary value. A lot of times it's relationships and learning. You have to pay your dues. Sean Cole paying his dues from the volunteer to pitching coach of the year to winning the College World Series. And once he got to that status, he becomes Team USA like coordinator, where he's picking the team for the USA 18U Olympic team. And I asked him, this is what I'm going to close with. I said, Sean, what is the number one thing you look for when you're building Team USA and you're selecting players? And this is what he said. He says, I look for players that love to play the game. I'm going to say that one more time. That love to play the game. Not that love my scholarship and love my cleats and love to look cool on Instagram. Royce Lewis doesn't even have nothing on Instagram. Okay, he doesn't care. Okay, that stuff is okay if you balance it, but the point is that you need to love baseball. And if you truly love being on the field with teammates and you love the game, you have this spirit. It's the Nick Madrigal spirit. It's the Royce Lewis spirit. It's this spirit that's so attractive, and you make others around you better. And it's an intuition is you don't have to think and you just do it right because you can feel it. That's your heart. And when you fall in love with baseball, not because you got a scholarship and because you're on a Division I team. Hey, I'm on a D2 team, or I'm on a lower level Division I, and I'm stoked because I love baseball. It's loving the game. Learn to love the game, guys. Don't learn to love getting the scholarship. I mean, that's cool, but that's a byproduct of having a true passion for the game that you love. And that's Latin America. That's the Latins to a T. Of course, they love their bonuses. They love signing major league contracts, but they play the game truly because they love the game. So process, we're going to finish with the definition of process. This is the definition. Get those pens going. Process. This is the law of the process. To anything and everything, there's a process to succeed. To anything and everything, there's a process to succeed. And in order to succeed, you must find, learn, and own that process. To anything and everything. So whatever you got to identify, to anything is, what do you want to be great at? What do I want to be great at? That's anything. Okay, I want to be great at guitar playing. Or I want to be a great receiver. I want to be a great blocker. I want to be great at throwing guys out. I want to be great at calling games. I want to be great at my relationship with pitchers. I want to be great with helping pitchers with their mechanics. I want to be great with going out and talking to pitchers and saying, hey, get your mind right, dude. Let's go. Clear your mind, be like water and attack. Let's go. I want to be great at motivating pitchers. What do you want to be great at? Just identify it. To anything and everything, there's a process. And then once you identify what you want to be great at, you got to build your process. And if you don't build a great process, you'll never be great. So then you enter this hunt phase. And that's what I do as a coach. I hunt information, hunt it every single day. I'm listening. Every day I'm listening. I'm learning. I'm asking questions. Why do you think I want Coach Abe to talk? Because he's really smart too. It's like, Abe, come on, baby. Give us some nuggets, right? We learn from each other. Be on the hunt for building your process. And I'll tell you, Freddie Rodriguez, I talked to Freddie for about an hour when I was in the Florida airport about a month ago, going to the Dominican. And we talked for like an hour. And he told me how he's built his process to becoming a dominant force on the mound. And it's only getting better. You know why? Because Freddie's process is getting better every day. He's building that process. And let me tell you something, it takes a little time, give and take. You're going to take some things, add some things, right? Abe was talking about it. He's talking about going through a season, losing weight, getting weak. You know why? Because they don't have a process. You build that process, right? But then it takes the self-discipline. We talked about the self-motivation, the self-discipline, the self-control, right? You have to have the sixth tool to really act out what's important. Because you can build any process you want. Okay, I'm going to work out 4 days a week. I'm going to do my run tool. I'm going to work on my changeup, and I'm going to work on. Dude, very few guys can ever even execute the plan that they set out to accomplish because it takes self-discipline. So let's just end with this last piece. What is your greatest motivator? What is it? It's either pleasure or pain. I want you to write that down. Pleasure, pain, motivation. Pleasure, pain. Pleasure is this. The pleasure of something motivates you, or the pain of something motivates you. For example, what motivates me is going to college, having my parents have to pay the whole thing, and I'm sitting on the bench. That's painful. So when I get up in the morning, I think about that. I want to help my family, and I don't want to go to college and ride pine. I want to be a contributor. To me, that's painful. I'm just making this up right now. You could come up with anything you want. Or I can focus on the pleasure of receiving something. Wow, how incredible would it be to receive a scholarship and say, Mom, I'm going to help the family. I would just receive a 50% scholarship to Utah. And she's like, wow. And you're thinking of the pleasure, and the pleasure of being able to play baseball and get paid. So there's different ways to be motivated, but it's either pain or pleasure. So a lot of guys are motivated by pain. Something being taken. Muhammad Ali was motivated by pain. Someone stole his red bike when he was 12 years old and he wanted to beat the guy up. So when he went in the ring, he said, hey, every time he went in that ring, that guy stole my red bike. So he remembered the pain of when his bike was ripped off. So when he went in that ring, he pounded everybody and he became the world champion at the age of 19 because every guy in that ring stole his red bike. He was focused on pain. Well, then there might be a Latin player who's focused on the pleasure of making a $1 million bonus and be able to help his family. So think about what motivates you. Is it losing something or is it gaining something? And then keep that motivator in front of you when you got to wake up in the morning, right? When you got to do extra training, when you have to study, when you have to do things you don't necessarily want to, then that goes back to the sixth tool of self-motivation. If anybody has any specific questions, I will answer. Otherwise, we're gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna get out to the game. I'm here watching the Cleveland Indians, Kansas City Royals game here. I'm up in the GM office here. Pretty cool. So I'm gonna pop back out and try to catch maybe the last couple innings. Anything, guys?
No, I don't have a question, Coach, but I just want to thank you for having me on this team, and I appreciate it and the opportunity you're giving me. I just wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome. Just make sure you don't go out in public with a tank top and flex all your muscles. You're good in your room, but be humble.
I will. I am.
Okay, stay humble, baby. Andrew Doshback, he's with the AA now. He's one of our former players. He was a 2-time area code, Stanford commit, signed with the Orioles, 10th round, and he's in AA right now. And his dad always told me, he would always tell Andrew, stay hungry and humble. Write that down. It's a good one. Hungry, humble. Right? It's not easy to be humble when you start getting success. Stay hungry, stay humble. Guys, thank you for being on. Do we still have Sanguinetti on there? Or is he?
Yes.
Out?
I know Coach Abe was running around. I think he might still be on, but I know he was running around. So, but yeah, thanks, Nate. Again, I know you got to take off, so go ahead and log out whenever you can. And again, guys, success leaves clues. That's part of this. The more, the more we do these, the more it's like just exactly what Coach Nate is saying. And Coach Abe, the nuggets are right there in front of your face. The answers, what you say you want to accomplish, or what I'm assuming most of you say you want to accomplish based on the program and what it takes to be in it. We're giving you the tools you need to get there. The fits, the college fits, those are on your calendars. My only piece today was just, again, to remind guys to, continue to update your profiles, continue to get into your calendars and your recruitment document. If you don't know what that means, you should be reaching out to me and Abe, finding out what that means. Just kind of back, the other thing was the team snap. Continuing to, plan the events, and get in there and make sure you're looking at those dates and planning things. And we touched on that early, where the schedule's set up for a reason. To be honest, there shouldn't be a lot of, there doesn't need to be a lot of additional events and things to your schedule. And you got to be very careful about what you're, again, figure out why you would be going there and what the purpose is before you just jump in the car and go to a college camp or a showcase or some other event just because you got an off week from your travel team. So last thing too was just, in regards to the time, time is the only, one of the few things that you can't get back. So that's why the more we manage the time, the more we can be a master of time. I mean, you're literally mastering the number one thing there is. Which is time, and you can't get that back. And basically the time you spend, and just like Coach Nate said, there was a long time of volunteering and just working camps and going wherever you could go to be around the coaches, and that's, I know, what what molded a lot of the training and all the info you're getting from Coach Nate. And think. How many times guys, oh, well, I don't want to go to this event, or I'm not going to, nothing's going to come of it. It's like, that's why I know, for me, same way, you're just trying to find that one nugget. And sometimes you do, sometimes you put in the time and you won't find that nugget. And that's okay. Then you got to get to the next day and you put in the time again. So yeah, just really good stuff. Glad you guys could all be on with us. Again, we will post the link as soon as it's done, the recording. So if you want to review anything, you can. And that's all I got. So